Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video we are going to learn about a famous short story, The Homecoming, written by the famous poet laureate Rabindranath Tagore. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. So let us learn first about the setting of the story. So this story begins in a rural village where Phatik Chakravarti, the protagonist, lives. His village where he lives is beautiful because it's characterized by open spaces, there are river banks, meadows, and a group of boys who often have been observed over here playing mischievous pranks at each other. It also represents the simple, rustic environment within which Phatik Chakravarti grows. Now let us learn about what are the important events of the story. You will be able to knit it all together and understand the overall story, the plot of the story. So the story begins with the protagonist, who is a young boy, a mischievous boy rather, who is 14 years old by the name of Phatik Chakravarti, and he is the ringleader among the village boys. That is, he is the master of mischief, you could say. He has often been observed playing pranks to shift a heavy log from a river bank, which is met with enthusiasm by the other boys. When he gives the idea that let us play a prank of removing a heavy log from a river bank, all the boys are thrilled and excited at this idea. Now it is at this time that when he was about to start with the prank, Phatik's younger brother Makhan sits on the log of wood and he refuses to move. No matter how much he is being requested to move away from there, he interferes. Now Phatik becomes very angry and he starts threatening and warning Makhan to move away, otherwise he will have to bear the consequences of this mischief. Now a log of wood is obviously very heavy, right? It's very difficult to move. And Phatik is trying to prove a point over here about his strength. So he has to move the log of wood by hook or by crook, and further added to that, he's got the trouble that his brother is sitting on the log of wood. So in order to save his skin in front of his friends, his reputation in front of his friends, he decides that I don't care if my brother will move or not, and he rolls the log of wood into the river. Makhan, sitting on it despite holding tightly to the log of wood, obviously falls into the river. Now the other boys find it very amusing and they are all cheering and feeling very happy, but Phatik knows that he's done something wrong. It happens with you also, all of us rather. When you are doing something intentionally wrong, you are going to feel uneasy. That is that same uneasiness that Phatik feels over here. Makhan gets extremely angry because he did not expect that his brother would actually take this opportunity of pushing him into the river. So when he comes out of the river, he is extremely angry and he physically attacks Phatik, and there's a nice fighting session that happens. All the other boys, mind you, are extremely thrilled, happy. This is what is the instinct of boys. I would not want to be partial over here, but they are enjoying it over here when the younger brother is beating up the elder one, and then Makhan goes home, making the end to this entire incident. After this incident is over, we see that a middle-aged man, described as having grey hair, a dark moustache, arrives at the riverbank and he's asking Phatik for directions to the Chakravarti household. Now Phatik is very casual and he responds in a very casual manner to this person, just randomly telling him the directions, because he's mentally lost because of whatever has happened. He has been beaten up and he knows he was wrong. Just because he wanted to save his reputation in front of his friends, he had to do that. And over here, when he is disturbed, when his thoughts are disturbed by the stranger, he does not pay heed, he does not give too much importance. Just randomly he gives a direction and he just takes off from this incident. Now Phatik is so disturbed that he does not want to go home. When the mother sends servants to fetch him, he initially refuses to move. He does not want to go home. Obviously he is a 14-year-old boy. The servants are built larger than him, so they are going to apply force and they are going to take him, but he's initially reluctant. He doesn't want to go because he will have to face another quarrel, another argument with his mother when he gets back home, and he's not ready. He's already been embarrassed enough in front of his friends, and now to further go and argue with the mother, it is very, very taxing for him. But he eventually has to be taken, so he goes with the servants when the servants pull him forcefully, and Phatik faces accusations of hitting Makhan from his mother. So this is obviously true. Makhan, when he's gone home, he did not keep his mouth shut. He was also wrong. A younger brother is not supposed to be hitting the elder brother despite the mistake that he made, but still he's gone and reported it to his mother, because Makhan, remember, is playing the image of being an ideal son. Despite being a younger one, he's trying to pretend to be all obedient and he's pleasing his mother, etc. So the mother gets very furious and she is accusing and blaming Phatik for whatever he has just done. Now at this time, a very unexpected thing happens. Remember, sometime back when Phatik was sitting near the riverbank, he had met a stranger. That stranger comes home and he turns out to be Bishambar, Phatik's maternal uncle, and he has returned after many years of absence. Now when he comes over here, he shows interest in Phatik's education and he offers to take Phatik to Calcutta. Remember, till now we are still in the rural village of Bengal, and now Phatik eagerly accepts this proposal made by the uncle and he readily agrees to go to Calcutta. Now Phatik's mother is also very relieved and happy because she knows that he is going to be in a safe place, which is in one of his cousin or his own brother's house, and at the same time he will be able to learn something new and she will also be able to get rid of him. She will no longer have to take interest in his mischievous activities and try to exercise further control over him. The headache will be gone, so she is also very happy. She is not at all sad on being separated from her son. I would now like to draw your attention to a change in the setting of the story. We now move to an urban landscape, Calcutta. The second part of the story is going to take place in Calcutta, which is a hustling, bustling city, and it is also known as the City of Joy. Now Phatik moves to his uncle's house in Calcutta for education, and it is a completely different setting compared to his early life spent in the village. Calcutta is obviously a crowded, noisy city. It is filled with strange, new, unfamiliar people and their own customs and traditions. Now all this change that Phatik has to undergo when he is shifting from the rural to the urban area has a deep impact on his mind and body. We'll see how. When Phatik is in Calcutta, he is particularly missing, yearning for the open spaces, the river banks, the greenery, the beauty of the river, the entire rural setup, which is missing in Calcutta. So that obviously starts affecting him mentally and emotionally. Now obviously, because Phatik is not being able to adjust properly in a new surrounding, when he goes to school he performs very poorly, unable to concentrate, and he's constantly missing his home. His cousins also at home start mocking him, insulting him, because remember, his uncle Bishambar already had 3 sons and the aunt was not very happy with the idea of Phatik coming over here. So he was struggling with that also. Within a new setting, already he is feeling like a stranger in Calcutta. Secondly, added to that, the aunt is not ready to accept him because she's already got 3 sons of her own. So Phatik is not getting the love. He didn't get that love from his mother. He's not even getting that love and acceptance from the aunt, and it is affecting his academic performance. At this time, something very sad happens. You know what? Phatik is beaten up by his teacher because he loses his lesson book. Now we've all grown up hearing stories about how parents were beaten up, grandparents would be getting a beating from the teachers if they would not perform well as students. But in today's times, we cannot touch the child. You cannot hit a child because it will be reported as child abuse, etc., right? But at that time when the story is set, it was a common thing which was accepted. Perhaps that is why it has been written down by Tagore in the story. Now why this practice is abolished completely is, see how it impacts a child. Phatik becomes physically ill and he develops high fever. He gets traumatized at this time, so he dreams of returning home during this delirium. That is when he is already sick. He starts yearning his home. Furthermore, he's not being able to adjust at all over here. I can totally relate. We all will be able to relate, because this is one of the saddest parts of the story, where he's wanting to go back home, but he has no option. He's got to stay over here, study and adjust, because he is not being able to find a way out. And whenever we are sick, no matter how old you are, we are all going to run to our mothers to get that care, that that love, to heal, to recover faster. So that same thing is what Phatik is undergoing. Now, because Phatik has lost his book, he does not want to go home and add to the trouble of the aunt, because he feels he has already troubled the aunt enough, and that same story is going to repeat. Remember when Makhan was when he had an incident with Makhan, he had been called home and then he had to face all the argument. Phatik had to face the argument with his mother. Now he already knows the aunt also does not love him enough, and he is going to face the same problem. So perhaps he is extremely tired. He does not have sufficient explanations to give, and he refuses to go home. He does not want to go back home. See how this is linked to the title of the story, The Homecoming. The home is supposed to be a place where we all love to go back to, but Phatik, second time in the story, he is not liking the idea of going back home, even though now it is a different setting. And eventually what happens? He is found soaked and ill by the police and brought back home, because they were not being able to find him. So Phatik's uncle had reported it to the police, and when the police finds Phatik, he is brought back home, but he is extremely ill because he had already come down with fever after getting a beating from the teacher, and now he had not gone back home at night also, so he's not in a very good condition. I find this to be the second saddest parts of the story. Phatik's condition starts worsening. When he is sick, he is constantly muttering about the idea of going back home. Home over here is the village home. He is yearning, he is missing that place, that comfort that he would get over there. So the news is sent back, and the mother comes over here to meet Phatik. But when Phatik gains consciousness, when he sees his mother by his side, he believes that as if holidays have begun, and he has finally come back to his house in the village. And under this misconception of the fact that he has come back home, he dies, he passes away. So the story ends with Phatik's longing for his home, and the love for his mother ultimately defines his life and his final moments. Ultimately, it is the fact that his mother, that love that he wanted from his mother, when he gets it in the final moments, that is like a homecoming for Phatik. Let us quickly have a discussion on the important themes that will help you to understand the overall meaning of the story better. Homesickness and longing. This we see in Phatik's constant longing for his village home after he has shifted to Calcutta with his uncle. This theme reflects the universal human experience, how we all miss the familiar comfort of our homes. Even when we get new opportunities, temporarily it might provide us with a lot of thrill, excitement to be in a new environment, a new setting. But Phatik's deep nostalgia for his village, the open spaces, the riverbanks, and the companionship of his friends, all this highlights the emotional idea of home. We also see in the story how love of a mother holds a special place in a child's heart, even in difficult circumstances. How do we see this? Even though Phatik's relationship with his mother was strained, it was problematic. She did not, like the fact that he was so mischievous and he was not an ideal son, the way he's supposed to be responsible, etc. Yet we see it is only at the end, when he reunites with his mother, that he passes away peacefully to God. At a young age of 14 years, Phatik is a displaced child. He is uprooted from a very familiar surrounding, that is the village surrounding, and he is thrown into a new urban environment of Calcutta. Now this displacement from a village to a city has a lot of challenges and it emotionally disturbs Phatik, especially children like Phatik. And when he is separated from his home, from his community, from his mother, it deeply impacts the child, and see what is the consequence of it. It's a very sad consequence of death. The story also provides us an insight into the adolescent mind of a young boy, Phatik. At the age of 14, he is seen struggling with feelings of alienation, isolation, rebellion, and trying to find a sense of identity. He struggles in school, he longs for home, he longs for love, and he faces a lot of difficulty in adapting to the change in city life. All these are relatable experiences for adolescents. All the possible sources from which Phatik was supposed to be getting love and affection, he receives neglect. That is, his own mother sends him with the uncle to stay away in Calcutta. In Calcutta, he faces neglect from his aunt, who treats him very badly, even his cousins who constantly mock him, insult him. So this in totality, from the experiences that Phatik faces, shows how neglect can have a deep emotional and psychological impact on the child's overall self-esteem and well-being. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.